From Littlefinger hinting at 2 major character deaths in Season 4 to Gandalf's sword being part of the iconic Iron Throne, here are some of the hidden messages from Game of Thrones. Starting with how Littlefinger sneakily predicted the future. Despite the scene being one of the most memorable ones in the show, this Easter egg slipped by completely unnoticed. After the wicked King Joffrey died, Peter Baelish, better known as Littlefinger, swept in and snatched Sansa Stark, whisking her away to the Eyrie. He then went and married the widowed Lysa Arryn, only to turn around and push her through the infamous Moon Door. The man tried to play it off like it was a suicide. However, everybody knew the truth. He made some pretty sweet promises to Lysa's son, Robin Arryn, right before he became the Lord Protector of the Vale. But in Season 4's episode titled The Mountain and the Viper, Littlefinger went in front of the lords and testified about Lysa's death. Being the manipulative genius that he is, he had the audacity to prepare to take young Robin on a tour of the Vale. But then he said something to him, mentioning how some people die on their dinner tables, while others die in their beds. Some even die squatting over their chamber pots. But everybody's death comes to them sooner or later. Now, the dying in their beds part of his quote was important, because it hinted at Shay's fate in Season 4's episode, The Children. When Tyrion found her in his father's bed, he snapped and strangled her to death for betraying him once again. But the bloodshed didn't stop there. Tyrion then grabbed a crossbow and found his father, Tywin, who was sitting on the chamber pot, and he shot him not once, but twice with the crossbow, killing him on the spot. So the chamber pot part of his quote also came true. But these weren't the only deaths foreshadowed in the show. Walder Frey's twisted death was hinted at for 3 seasons before it happened. The Season 6 finale delivered the moment everyone was waiting for, as Arya Stark finally avenged her family's murder at the infamous Red Wedding. She went right into Walder Frey's stronghold, disguised as a servant. After serving him a pie filled with bits and pieces of his own sons, she slit his throat. It was brutal, yet it was the most satisfying thing to happen in the season. That's not all. Eagle-eyed fans pointed out how Arya's revenge technique came out of Bran's story. In Season 3, he told a tale about how the cook killed a king's son and baked him into a pie, which he then served to the king, and he loved it so much that he asked for seconds. The gods punished the cook by turning him into a rat who could only eat his young, as Bran concluded that the cook was punished for killing a guest beneath his roof. Now, that's exactly what Frey did to Catelyn, Robb, and to Lisa Stark, and Arya did nothing but give that man what he deserved. But while this one was exciting, no Easter egg caused an uproar like Jon's parent reveal moment. The Season 6 finale left everyone in a tizzy because it was finally revealed that Jon Snow isn't really a Stark bastard. In a shocking revelation, his real mother was revealed to be none other than Ned Stark's sister, Lyanna. But his father turned out to be an even bigger revelation. HBO confirmed what book readers had long suspected, and Jon's dad was indeed Rhaegar Targaryen. Now, let's backtrack to Season 1's Episode 4, where Jon tells Sam how he has no idea who his mother is. If you look closely, there are 2 letters carved on the tree next to him, R-L. They had revealed their biggest secret right at the start, yet almost nobody noticed it. Think about it. He'd just been declared the king in the north because of his Stark lineage, but being part Targaryen, his life was about to get a lot more complicated. With Sansa, Arya, and Bran being his cousins instead of siblings, Jon's hold on Winterfell was weaker. Although he had a claim to the Iron Throne, he could have completely lost his grip on the north. They were probably waiting for the right moment to say it outright. But what a brilliant way to hide the truth in plain sight. Jon Snow's character has had a lot more foreshadowing than that though, like how his real name was revealed for the first time in Season 3. The Season 7 finale dropped a bombshell that had been years in the making, because fans finally learned that R plus L equals J is real. But his real name was also revealed to be Aegon Targaryen. Showrunners David Benioff and Dan Weiss had been dropping hints since Season 3, yet nobody noticed until one fan recalled a moment from Season 3 on Reddit. Stannis' daughter had been teaching Sir Davos how to read, and the first word she taught him was Aegon. She even spelled it out to drive the point home. But as if that wasn't enough, she referenced the book's name, A History of Aegon the Conqueror. Jon's story had been laid out all over the show's seasons, just like Sansa's story was clear about her marriage. Her wedding gown had an entire story embroidered on it. Designed by Michelle Clapton, her dress was created to be as restrictive and uncomfortable as possible, while also exposing some vulnerable areas. This was to convey Sansa's discomfort and feeling of being trapped, as she was forced into the marriage. Instead of a flowery, romantic design, the dress was dominated by powerful symbols. The embroidery on the dress was symbolic, with a fish and wolf intertwined at the back of the waist, representing Sansa's parentage and background. The wolf was the sigil of her father's house, while the fish was the sigil of her mother. There was also a lion, the sigil of the Lannisters, battling with a wolf and overpowering it, showing how the Lannisters have taken control of her life. And to top it off, there was an enormous lion embroidered on the back of the neck, stressing how this family owns her now. But some hidden messages have been subtler than others. Olenna Tyrell unknowingly mentions her family's history. During a secret meeting in Dorne between Olenna Tyrell and Ellaria Sand, Lady Tyrell revealed that she was feeling uneasy in the kingdom, and she had a good reason for it. As it turns out, the last time a Tyrell set foot in Dorne, he was assassinated in the most disgusting way. Not 1, not 10, but killed by a whopping 100 red scorpions. This story is a nod to Martin's novels, which recounts the death of Lionel Tyrell. He had a habit of storming Dornish castles and kicking lords out of their own bedrooms, but one fateful night, he ended up in a bed with a velvet canopy and sash, meant to attract women. But when he pulled on the sash, it triggered the release of 100 red scorpions, ultimately killing him and freeing the Dornish from his tyranny. Those who haven't read the books probably had no idea about this one, but every Potterhead would have picked on this next Easter egg. Yep, there was a massive crossover event in Season 7. When Samwell Tarly asked Archmaester Ambrose for help accessing the restricted area of the library. It was a clear nod to Harry Potter's Hogwarts restricted section. And it's not just that. The Archmaester was played by none other than Jim Broadbent, who portrayed Horace Slughorn in the Potter movies. Natalia Tena, who played Nymphadora Tonks in Harry Potter, also appears in Game of Thrones as the fierce wildling woman, Osha. And in one of her scenes, she's even seen making brooms. They had so many similar actors, they felt that some Harry Potter elements needed to be snuck in. And fans were not complaining. Speaking of crossovers, there's another one coming right up for you. Gandalf's sword seems to be sitting in the middle of the Iron Throne. There might be more to the throne's history than you think, as a Reddit user noticed something strange about one of the many swords on there. It looked a lot like Gandalf's sword, Glamdring, and nobody could deny it. What's more, the sword next to Glamdring looked an awful lot like Robin Hood's hilt. After spotting two famous swords, one fan noted how other swords from Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven movie have also been used for the throne. Who knows, maybe Frodo's sting is somewhere in there, and maybe Conan the Barbarian's Atlantean sword is lurking in the shadows. But it's very hard to tell because the swords aren't in pristine condition. The Iron Throne is made up of a mismatch of iconic blades melted and bent together, which also makes it hard to identify a sword. It makes you wonder whether they've got other famous swords in there. So, from Gandalf's sword being spotted on the Iron Throne to Littlefinger's creepily accurate death predictions, these were the most interesting hidden messages from Game of Thrones.